talk is on AI agents, human in the loop, and getting your shared services workplace ready. How ready are the shared services workplace today with AI agents? Have we designed the right kind of human oversight? And are we reskilling our teams enough to be handling exceptions, looking at governance, and looking at judgment? I'd like to welcome my esteemed panel here, and could you start by introducing yourselves, please?
I handles the technology, cloud basically into hyperclouds. I take care of AWS, Azure, and GCP. Started with Azure, now looking into AWS, GCP, transforming right now. We have 6 years I'm working with solutioning, architecting, designing, and implementation as well, with a team force of around 300 folks around the globe.
My career largely stints around both operational and financial delivery. And then last 7 years I have been part of core solutioning and also responsible for working with the customers in terms of what are the current challenges do they face in order to cash, and how do we solve through process excellence as well as transformation.
My name is Mohan. I've been in this industry for about 20 plus years. I'm part of Teleperformance. I lead the order to cash practice for Teleperformance. So me and my team, we help our clients to design the transformation framework, and we help the shared services team to gear up for the next evolving technology, which is AI or maybe the RPAs. Glad to be a part of this forum.
Hi all, 𝒂𝒉𝒂𝒕. So I'm an analyst, but practitioner turned analyst. So don't look down upon me. It's 20 years of experience working and handling finance operations with HSBC, Amazon. But now I'm associated with ISG, which is a research and advisory firm. And I lead a couple of studies. One is, of course, finance and accounting, services, platform, and additionally GCC. And yeah, glad to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much. Gaurang, we'll start with you. From an analyst perspective, right? How mature are enterprises today in adopting human-in-the-loop AI models, and what capability gaps do you constantly observe in the shared services industry?
From a maturity perspective, specifically to human-in-the-loop AI, I would say the maturity is still uneven, but definitely accelerating, right? So we do see that a lot of AI, and I'm going to say AI as a whole, okay, because it's all the same in a sense. But specifically talking about, say, agentic AI, we still see that it's kind of implemented in silos, not necessarily a full-blown agentic automation is in place, and definitely not with an aspect of human overview, right? So it's still in the nascent stages. Of course, there are many challenges, may it be data, fragmented systems. So I don't want to touch upon that. I think enough is said about it. But what I'll probably talk about is the enterprise readiness to enable human-in-the-loop AI, right? I think three facets. So first being readiness from a perspective of process readiness, right? Because today's processes, as we know it, are quite siloed and are linear in nature, right? You know in terms of what you're supposed to do and not do. And the same might not work in an environment where you have agentic, right? I think because there is going to be a whole lot of cross-pollination, if I can say that. And as it was touched upon earlier as well, you can't implement agentic AI or AI in silos. You might not get the full value out of it. It has to be implemented across the full value chain of your enterprise. I'm not going to even limit it to finance, but the whole enterprise, right? So that's where the true value will come, right? And unless you kind of redesign these processes, take into account how the future processes are going to look like, don't try to force fit the current processes with agentic AI. So that's one. Secondly, it's about workforce. Again, I think Shiva also touched upon it, right? You have to relook at the workforce you have. You don't want doers anymore, right? You need someone with greater skills. And when I say greater skills, maybe that's contextual, right? Of course, techno-functional role is what we hear, contextual knowledge is what we hear, because the role will change from doers to, maybe supervising AI, okay? Or potentially, I don't know, I'm just saying it, maybe prompt engineering. So whatever those possibilities are. But the role's definitely going to change, and I think Emagia providers as such, I think you will be able to define in terms of what the roles looks like in the future and help enterprises, with that role. Uh, Thirdly, most importantly, I think there's always discussion about responsible AI, and that kind of brings in the aspect of governance and trust, right? Unless you have the right governance in place, it's going to be challenging to implement AI. You got to have the right guardrails. Again, I think touched upon earlier was from a traceability, auditability. You need to be able to audit what the agents are doing. Okay, you need to have the right controls, ensure that the agents have limited access, right? Like governance works in today's business anyway. So to sum it up, I would say technology alone will not help enterprises get the value. It's going to be equal parts of, relooking at the whole operating model, and secondly, the talent, right? I think that also needs to be given enough thought.
Fascinating. Let me get to Srikanth. Um, from a technology perspective, how do you see AI agents reshaping enterprise workflows? And what foundational or cloud elements do you think you need for adoption? I think this is a carry forward from what Gurang was just mentioning.
Whole synergy, what I'm looking at, AI integration, automation, fine. You're doing very good, great. I don't want that. What is the business challenge that you're going to bring to the table? Solve the problem. How is that you're adding value to my business? Is the first question from the customer. So how are we solving those? We are solving step by step. First is, as Nishal was mentioning, process, governance. Yes, I do accept all those. But at the end, we are trying to adopt. What is that adoption to the processes that we are incorporating in terms of automation, in terms of cloud, in terms of finance, and all these things we have to integrate. Like what Shiva was mentioning, entire ERP systems, ecosystem. Yes, we do have to automate all those. How are we automating scaling? And scaling is the second top priority in this ecosystem. How do we scale the ecosystems, right? So the ecosystems today, we have all the dots to be connected. How are we connecting those dots? There are three challenges which I would like to bring. One is the skill metrics, that what we are adopting in the technology front right now on the AI. Most of the teams need to be upskilled. The gaps are still at the very bottom layer. We are trying to fill the gaps. After filling the gaps, how are we solving the business challenges? Business challenges going to be on the toe, moving forward. I see a lot of challenges. Still I'm learning. I'm not telling that I have solved most of them. I'm still learning a lot from the business challenges. Example, one of all your mobiles in your hands, I'm heading that operations. I'm solving the AI challenges. I don't want to call the customer name, but your HITL or whatever you call I'm solving all those problems. Very soon you'll be seeing some of those challenges getting fixed through AI. All the operational challenges. We have fixed 60% of the challenges on the mobile devices right now.
Any global shared service operations, right? What functions do you think are most ready for AI agents? And where do you think human judgment is still very essential?
Most of the times when we meet our clients, right, when we look at our processes or their processes, I feel the agentic AI is ready in most of the areas, but not fully. As Gurung said, in each and every area, there are parts of activities which can completely taken over by agentic AI, right? So in that sense, I would not say there is one single process which can fully overtaken by agentic AI. But everywhere there are certain critical human decisions are required. Now, if I say the cash applications in order to cash, maybe about 70% can be overrun by the agents, right? And similarly, in the billing, about 30 to 40%. In collections, you have about 50 to 60%. Primarily, you can let the agents to do your sending automated statements, dunning activities, and all of those collection activities for your low-value customers who are low-risk customers. any area which has this repeatable patterns and which has your you know repeated tasks and which comes out with the clear decisions is something which agents can take over. But what we still see where human dependency is say in taking a heavy credit decisions where the customer is on a borderline of a credit and some decision has to be made and some strategies has to be built around your premium customers, pricing validations to be done. Those are still the areas which we still see as the challenges for agentic AI to be taken over. They are still judgmental and some decision has to be made by human. So overall, it's not something, anything which is executable and clearly decision outcome can be taken over by agents, but rest the negotiations and all of those things should be still done by humans is what we believe.
What level of human oversight do you think is needed? And when you design touch points, how much human intervention do you think is needed?
It's an interesting question on that, right? So I will see it as a layered approach instead of going all in one basket. So layered in sense of what are those tasks which does not require any human intervention, where there has to be a handshake between human and machine, and then if anything only we should leave it to the humans, right? So first level, if I were to put it as like anything like Mohan mentioned and then Gaurang also started with it. So anything that is related to monotonous tasks, transactional level, like sending emails, dunning emails or so, just take the remittance details and then applying the cash. So these are the, where there is a low risk and high volume is where I will put it as a machine only. And then when we get into mid, where there is a decision making required, so that's where it's a handshake between human and machine. So example in credit decision, so where the system should not be taking a decision whether to give a credit limit of certain amount or put any payment term on the customer. The system still could go ahead and extract the data required to take a decision for the human, and then the human can take it over from there. And then where there is an critical and complex decisions like be it taking a price decision or be it a payment term or negotiating on a certain transaction. That's where the system should leave it to the humans to take a decision. So, well, it should be a coordinated approach instead of AI versus human also. It should be the human should take AI as a co-pilot and then work together is what I would restructure it as.
So decision making will be part of either skill, knowledge, or policy. Mohan, I'll just come back to you once on this. What gaps do you see in today's shared services workforce? And how do you think organizations should think about reskilling to handle these exceptions? And we also know how big Teleperformance is in the market in this space, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to those gaps in shared services, right, especially when it comes to a skill, so we see a lot of functional expertise in the shared services environment. People there for quite some time and they know exactly how their process works, what are the exceptions that they could come across and how to handle them. So they're very strong in the functional skills, but with this evolving technology, right? I mean, somewhere how to work in an AI augmented operating model, right? I mean, that's some skills which we're missing. When I talk about key skill gaps, now, someone knows how to manage the exceptions, but they would not be able to investigate why this exception is coming back to me. They might lack a knowledge on how to manage the AIs, right? How to supervise them, right? How to read the insights which is coming from AI. How do I take that data and how do I interpret to my process? So these are some areas which I feel in a shared service environment which should be equipped. So reskilling, what we need to do for the existing employees is, or an existing shared service skill set is moving from an analyst to, we need to probably move them as an exception management, because most of the analysts, the routine task will be taken over by agents and they should be start learning the exceptions from AI and they should start handling the exceptions. And also we need to move from team leaders to an AI supervisors. Rather, monitoring your people work, you should start monitoring and understanding your AI outputs, and probably we also should train them how to give the effective instructions to, or prompts to AI agents to get the desired outcomes, right? And we should probably train the employees on data interpretation. So it's not about looking your AR report, or it's not about looking your unapplied report. It's more of you looking at the output of AI in a data form, and how we could leverage that. So those are some skills which probably should be reorganized in the shared services environment.
That's very insightful. Thanks. Srikanth, I'm going to come to you. In an AI augmented workforce, right? What is the ideal mix that you're looking at today? How do humans and AI agents divide work intelligently? What are your thoughts on that?
Small example which I faced last week that might answer most of your question. So we started working with challenges, and we faced that, okay, there are 10 challenges, out of which 10 challenges are 10 different verticals, I call it. Those 10 verticals are maybe finance, accounts, other stuff, and operational challenges in terms of governance, which is the key pillar which we missed out, and we learned lessons from that. And the governance, policies, adherence to the policies, which we learned from the business and tried to understand that, okay, these are the, without these policies, we could not able to implement. The AI agentic cannot talk to me, or a human can't talk to the problems, what statements or what not. So there, out of 10, we divided all the 10 into different sectors and called that, okay, let's divide, make a policy. What are the policies? What are the enforcements that I'm trying to do? And then we started digging into that and solve step by step. It is not going to be easy challenge. After the 10, we landed up ending up solving problems for another 20, right? These are operational challenges. So other 20 also, we again go ahead and went forward and changed the policies. So the policy is a key pillar which we have to make sure, and policies has to be very cleanly called out in the forums. And please go through the policy makers, define, derive, come back, give your feedbacks. Continuous feedback systems has to be enabled in the ecosystem so that we enable that feedback, take the policies, go to the right direction, build the right technology, involve the technology, make sure technology can evolve with the policies is what I am just learned the lessons from the live scenarios.
So this is an operational reality.
Yes.
So, the next best person to answer the next question is Gurang. What are the trends that you're seeing globally, whether from an autonomous AI in shared services? Are these centralized? Are these federated? Are these hybrid models? How are they being implemented? What's the trend looking like right now? How do you think it's going to go in the next 2 years? Just from a global perspective.
Yeah, I mean, look, each of these models has its own advantages and, say, disadvantages, right? So, for example, when you say a centralized operating model, I think that works really well when you're in a regulated industry, like some BFSI, farm, or healthcare or pharma, right? Where everything is controlled because it's regulated. You need to have those guardrails. I think what it does is kind of curbs the innovation that is, the potential of innovation. It all lies with, say, the business units, right? I think the shots are taken, or for example, even from a AI agentic development can happen at a business unit level. It's got its advantages because there is contextual knowledge that is at that business unit level. But again, what that leads to is, while you have a lot of freedom to develop solutions, but then I think it also leads to more of fragmented solutions, a lot of duplication, of solutions that are kind of built, right? So that's a disadvantage. So what this leads to is, I think hybrid is a perfect combination where you have more of a control autonomy, right? So from a platform perspective or a governance perspective, everything is centralized. But at the same time, you have the ability to innovate. So I would say, yeah, it has to be hybrid as a way forward.
If the scaling happens in hybrid going forward.
Yeah, I think definitely, because if you consider, right, I mean, when I said innovation is not going to happen, right, you potentially will have more innovation happening in hybrid than in the centralized, and you will build solutions which can work as a blueprint not just for, say, one vertical, which can be replicated into other verticals as well. So I think in that sense, it's easier for scaling, or will be it's a right mix to help scale AI.
When we have AI agents deliver any kind of solution, right? Where do you think the fastest operational ROI comes from? Are these from decision making, customer interaction, self-service workflows, routing? Where is the quickest ROI cycle right now?
Quickest ROI comes from where there is a low risk and more transaction, right? So where the human intervention need not be there. 20 years before, if I go with, there are around 100 collectors just sending emails to the customers. So in this today's, no one sends an email to the customer, right? I mean, it's an automated running that is set up, I mean, and it is sequenced. And similarly, cash analyst, even all the ERPs comes with at least 60 to 70% automation by default. And when layers like Emagia take them from 70 to 90, 95%. Role-wise, like they have these orchestration in terms of how the roles are defined and how these ROI comes from, right? Where do these ROIs come from? I think these are the roles that we look at. Okay, what are the transactional roles that are there? And then looking at in terms of be it a credit or in deductions, where the decisions are being taken, right? Whether to issue a credit or not, or whether the deduction is valid or invalid. Today's world, the AI agents can define if the deduction is a valid or invalid, but that is backed up by data. There are scenarios we have seen in our real-time use cases where there are decisions beyond data, right? So that is where the ROI is like, okay, ROI is limited to where the data aggregation is there, not the decisioning. So, and then comes the, I mean, particularly the sourcing or the procurement areas where the decisioning is heavy in terms of human interaction. I think that's where we will need to again augment with AI, and then it has to be a balanced approach, is what I say.
We'll move from ROI to how we measure productivity, right? So now that we have these agents, I'll ask Mohan this question, right? Once we have these agents in place and there's some adoption, um, do you think we need to change how productivity is measured? How do KPIs need to evolve beyond efficiency and cost? Because of course, this has to be evolving with agents. These agents don't sleep or rest
Of course,
or need
yes.
holidays.
Of course,
So
yeah, they
how do
have
we think about this?
Well, it's really crucial that we come up with a new parameters to measure the health of the process, right? While we shift from most of the human orchestra to the agentic AI perform tasks. In a traditional way today, we primarily measure AHT, DSO, and your revenue percentage and all of those stuff. But as we evolve to the agentic world, it becomes important to know how the agents are performing, what's the quality of agent. Say, for example, we probably have to look at the autonomy percentage, end-to-end what percentage the agents are performing. Then we probably have to look at it, the human load on the, taking care of agents, how much percentage of human is involved to handle the exceptions provided by agent. So there are multiple parameters which probably depending on the process to process, which definitely need to be cultivated with our existing traditional metrics.
So we'll get to Gurang. We want to understand, have you seen any changes in standards or governance frameworks as far as AI operations are concerned? I know it's still early days, still early stages, but when you talk to your customers or some of the rest of the analyst community, are you seeing something in this space?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is definitely focused on ensuring that there is a AI governance. Everyone understands the importance having an AI governance, right? Is there a global standard for governance? I don't think so. Of course, there are a lot of governance models out there. And yeah, everyone understands the whole responsible AI piece, having the governance model to ensure that they have a safe and secured, operations, right? They're covered. May that be regulatory or, enterprise focus. There is nothing centralized as such, but there's a lot of discussion around it. While I'm definitely not an expert on, what governance should look like, but typically what we see is covered as part of these governance models and are very basic. Right? I think governance models, the fundamentals remain the same. Probably the controls will change. Right? You got to have, you need to know what kind of controls you want to give the agent, right? So the access control is going to be one of those areas. Okay, AI, what would change is, and I think someone touched upon that earlier as well, you have to kind of keep looking at your models so that they don't drift or there are no errors, right? It's like you retrain your employees, right? I think somewhere you have to ensure that the agents are also getting retrained and probably recertified as well. The other aspects you can think of is ensuring that you have a clear segregation of duties. What is the AI going to do? Okay, what's a human going to do? I think who's going to approve? What's that whole process going to look like? Then of course there's this ethics part, compliance. So I think these are elements that we typically hear are discussed from a governance perspective. Too early right now, but I think it definitely go the way route of maybe a cloud, ready or a SOX ready kind of organization. Maybe we'll have a AI ready
It's
organization
still
at one
early
point.
days. At some
Early
point,
days, yeah. I think what's
yeah, I agree. I
possible.
agree. We'll go from policy to execution. Sunil, how do you ensure that there is responsible AI behavior from avoiding, model drift, bias, or making sure you have maximum autonomy, right? From an execution standpoint.
First thing is understanding the AI and then continuous training on that. So, I mean, it has to start from the analyst level, and then there are no more team leaders as such today. There are more of product owners. So who uh, train the systems and the humans parallelly on how these sync together to work upon. And other is putting those guardrails is important, like putting those controls in, and also leveraging on where AI can automate and where human needs to intervene. These guardrails will help us in moving forward with AI, and also on how do we leverage the most out of it. And and it also depends on which area of execution we want to focus on for AI.
Mohan, let me ask you this. A lot of times we get this thing saying that, work jobs are going to disappear, roles are going to disappear. That seems to be a very scary thought in a lot of our minds and the next generation. But, from someone like you, what new roles do you think will emerge in the next 2 years or 3 years with the advent of AI and agentic AI?
Well, some of the new roles I could think about is obviously you're training your employees to work with agents. So your agentic AI trainers will be one of the roles which could emerge. Probably your how are you going to supervise your AI agents? So those AI supervisors are going to emerge, and maybe an end-to-end AI operating, someone who could design a techno function roles, who has an awareness of process and also the awareness of technology, who could design the end-to-end AI operating model. So these are some roles which probably will emerge, and some of the roles which could shrink, I would say, is it's not going to eliminate, but which could shrink is your manual cash posting activities, your billing validation activities, your handling low value customer activities. So these are some roles which might shrink because this is something which we see that agentic AI has potential to take over.
Okay, so if any of the kids are here, you should know what roles to look out for. Shrikant, let me ask you, into the future, right? How do you think what technological innovations will shape the future of shared services? With obviously AI and agentic AI out there, but from a technology overall perspective.
But go back to the 15 years back, we have done some automation, we have done so many integrated tools, for many tool integrations, built the entire ecosystem, automation and all. But today, the agentic, what we are talking about, in the cloud, let me talk where I'm working on the cloud, right? So we have built some massive data processing in the cloud, where you end up paying most of the customers, what we see, right? They're paying huge amount of dollars in terms of dollars in the cloud adoption models, which they have done 5-6 years back. So now they're asking, why this I have to pay so much? Why can't we get down the cost optimization, adoption? So there are many tools which have evolved in all the clouds. I'm not talking about one specific cloud. I talk about AWS, if I talk about Azure, if I talk about GCP, there are many tools which have come up, giving the architecture till the cost optimization where we can evolve and integrate it to our AI systems. That is where we are trying to build a solutions moving for the next generation. Maybe by 2027, we will be able to achieve that is what the target which I have planned and for the next generation.
27 is aggressive, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask each panelist 3 questions, and it'll be rapid fire. Think on your feet. One-word answers or maybe one sentence. Keep it short. We'll start with Gurang, or we'll start with, we'll start here and we'll then go. One task you'd happily let AI agents take over forever.
My tickets,
Okay. One misconception about AI you wish would disappear.
most of the processes,
Okay. One essential skill for the AI-driven workforce.
automation,
Automation. Okay. Sunil, why don't you take it? So I'm going to ask the same set of questions to all 3 of you. One task you'd happily let AI agents take over.
My scheduling.
Your day scheduling. One misconception about AI you wish you would disappear.
AI will take my job.
AI will take your job.
Never.
You never know, yeah. One essential skill for the AI-driven workforce.
I think continuous learning.
Mohan, your turn. One task you'd happily let any AI agent take over.
QA work?
Quality work.
Yeah.
QA work.
Yeah. Sorry.
One misconception about AI you wish that would disappear.
Jobs?
Jobs. One essential skill for the AI-driven workforce.
Someone should have really good questioning skills.
Really good?
Have questioning skills.
Questioning skills.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. All right, Gurang, one task you'd happily let AI agents take over forever.
I've already outsourced writing, so that's been a blessing.
Okay. One misconception about AI you wish that would disappear.
Cliched answer, jobs.
Really? I mean, same
I
answer.
think it's cliched.
You're not
I
thinking
can't
on your
think of,
feet, yeah.
you're saying
This is
fast
like,
as well.
This
so.
is like copy paste. One essential skill for the AI-driven workforce.
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking. That's a good answer. Anyway, thank you so much, gentlemen. I would like to thank the panelists for their valuable insights to everything they've given.